After 13 years with The Way of Water, director James Cameron, his production company Lightstorm Entertainment, and Weta took fans back to the world of Pandora, and it's once again a photorealistic game changer because of the spectacular CGI effects that set a new benchmark. So today we're going to discuss the heavy visual effects that came to play in production and the future of visual effects in the industry. First off, reaching the next level. According to John Landau, who worked with Cameron on the Avatar sequels Titanic and Alita: Battle Angel, the second movie's plot was planned soon after the first one came out. Well, the first thing on the schedule was the face display. For Avatar, Weta used their facet system to capture specific details of the actors' faces while they were wearing their Na'vi avatars. This included Sigourney Weaver's xenobotanist Grace, Sam Worthington's Marine Jake Sully, and Zoe Saldana's native Na'vi warrior Neytiri. By putting the actors in performance capture suits with reflective markers and putting a head camera on them, the VFX artists could track how the muscles, hair, and skin moved in real time so that they could be mapped onto their virtual figures. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. For The Way of Water, major changes like using more facial cameras to record the expressions and more polygons for the texture mapping technique on CG shapes made it possible to see even more small details of the actors' performances in close-ups of their digital avatars, both on land and in water. And according to Landau, they wanted to capture more nuanced, high-fidelity performances to look even more like photos than they did in the last film. Well, it clearly showed when we saw the spectacle of Avatar 2. He also said that a lot of people were needed for that plan, as there were more than just Weta effects at play and not just the people who worked on the show. And together, these two were able to make characters for the big screen that were more interesting. Next up, the motion capture process. Well, Cameron began directing his actors in September 2017 using performance capture sets in Los Angeles before any live-action scenes were shot, and in some cases up to 23 cast members were captured at the same time. According to various reports, 90% of this sequel is computer-generated, while only 75% of the first movie was made using CGI. For example, in a scene where a Na'vi character and a human character interacted, like Jake Champion's character Miles Spider Socorro, so Neytiri's actor Zoe Saldana would be on set to act with the performance capture stars. Wow, that's an impressive method to capture their movements and also something that makes sense. Work began on the live-action sets in 2019, which were built in studios between Wellington and the small town of Cumia. And how Landau described it, instead of having the actors play digitally rendered figures, they came up with a wired system, as we might see at a sporting event, stretched up above the stadium with a camera attached. This way, Champion and the other actors could see what the digitally rendered figures were doing. He added that they coded the actors to be in the right place where the actor for their CG character was, so they could have the right eye line and the right performance to act against. And then they put a monitor and a speaker in their place, making it easy to combine the two pieces of footage. Followed by the biggest challenge they faced. The way Landau described it, the hardest thing about The Way of Water is its name. Let us explain. In the story, Jake and his family are attacked by human colonists who want to make Pandora a new home for people from Earth. So they leave their home in the forest and go to a group of Na'vi who can swim and walk on land called the Metkaina. This means that most of the movie takes place in, on, or near water, which means they needed to know more about technology and the surrounding environment. And as light moves differently underwater, a whole new capturing system had to be made so that the reflective markers and the separate system above the water could work together. During pre-production, the camera operators and digital engineers went to the Bahamas for a study trip, allowing them to explore these uncharted CGI waters. And they put wigs on them so they could watch how their hair moved while they were underwater and moving at certain speeds. On top of that, they also had to figure out what the bubbles look like underwater, which is kind of important if you ask us. And instead of using CGI to simulate being in the water with a sense of memory of what it was like in the ocean, the actors were flown to Hawaii to participate in a breath-hold training camp. While describing the process, Landau also said that the art of making movies isn't perfect, but the art of making visual effects can be. Moving on to other elements of the filming of The Way of Water. Well, Landau says the 3D, another important part of Avatar's visual world building, was made to make the audience feel voyeuristic. We kind of get what he's saying. James Cameron used a system called Sony CineAlta Venice 3D to do this, where the camera is hooked up to a 3D stereoscopic beam splitter with this system. And one of the action scenes in The Way of Water is a train raid that uses 3D and higher frame rate shots played back at 48 frames per second to make a smoother and more realistic realistic image than the standard 24 FPS. Also, there were so-called flaws in the process of shooting the movie. VFX artists can clean up scenes to get rid of lens flares and camera shakes, but that would take away from the sense of reality that Cameron and the rest of the team were going for. And Landau said that visual effects could be great art, but making movies is not when they let some of those mistakes show through. Well, it seems like they really emphasize showing these lens flares and camera shakes to make it feel and look like real life. What's more, an already troubled industry. The thing is, the sequel to Avatar comes at a time when there is a lot of talk in the VFX world about how blockbuster movie VFX artists work and are treated, and it's said that unrealistic expectations from studios making more and more CGI-heavy movies and TV shows have caused VFX company employees to burn out quickly due to long hours, tight deadlines, and last-minute edits. But the main blame goes to superhero projects, which are said to be the most troublesome. VFX artists and Marvel Studios have complained to news outlets that executives make more and more complicated requests but don't pay enough for the many new renderings that come from endless studio no's. Also, in August, award-winning VFX artist Joe Pavlo talked about his time working on the Marvel movie Guardians of the Galaxy. He allegedly called it a mess and crazy. He added that the visual effects industry is full of great, caring people with a lot of goodwill, but when their backs are against the wall and Disney makes crazy demands, there's nothing in place. Damn, that sounds like a rough situation. Not to mention the Cameron treatment of the VFX staff. As we all can tell now, the filmmaking and visual effects departments worked together so well on Avatar: The Way of Water that the VFX artists had everything they needed to make Cameron's vision come to life. The Way of Water took more than 10 years to make, so it definitely can't be said that it was rushed. Also, the release date was moved from December 17, 2021 to December 16, 2022, so the creative needs could be met. And this was especially important because the pandemic caused live-action filming to be delayed. But what makes The Way of Water one of the most impressive VFX achievements of the past 10 years is the use of industrial light and magic stagecraft units, which can be seen in The Mandalorian, The Batman, and other blockbusters in the past year. On top of this, a lot of machine learning is going on, especially regarding remodeling actors. James Cameron talked a lot about how it might be possible to make the not-be by taking an actor's performance and putting it on a computer-generated model. And it goes without saying that it takes a lot of engineering, and Weta has done a lot of great research in that area. But as technology improves and gives filmmakers more freedom to make their wildest movie dreams come true, more needs to be done to give VFX artists a better, healthier way to work so they can meet increasingly complex demands. Lastly, The Way of Water makes the visual effects of other blockbusters look amateur. It's fair to say that VFX isn't great in many movies, not just Marvel movies. But since more Marvel movies come out each year than any other franchise, they're a good place to start. But in reality, the problems with Marvel movies show how big budget movies are doing in general. These days, we aren't blown away by how good big budget movies look on the big screen. And this is sad for the theater industry, which is still trying to get back on its feet after the pandemic. The underwater scenes in The Way of Water are a big part of why the movie looks so good, mainly because Cameron didn't skimp on them. Cameron and his team came up with underwater motion capture technology, and instead of filming in front of walls of blue or green screens, they put the actors in a 900,000-gallon tank and did most of the filming there. But when we say The Way of Water was made for theaters, we mean it was made in more ways than any other movie out now, including 3D, large formats like IMAX, high frame rate, and a lot of different combinations of these. And in the end, it's clear that The Way of Water was made for theaters. So it would be a mistake to watch it at home on our TVs, as we won't be able to experience the immersive spectacle James Cameron intended to create for us. But we're glad that people are already starting to realize that these high-end formats are the best way to watch The Way of Water, and hopefully more visually stunning films that follow through. That's all for this video. Do you think The Way of Water set a new Hollywood visual effects benchmark? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content in the future. Thanks for watching. See you next time.